record. We're recording in progress. Hey, so is it Brother AJ or am I going with Alban Jones Sr.?
I go by all of them.
All right. Hey, welcome to something new that we're doing here on Something Came from Baltimore. Non-edited, all raw, mistakes included, going right out to YouTube. So you're my first one, so congratulations.
I feel honored.
Yeah. So we met and you had exactly what I see right now. You have the Prince like symbol on. And I asked you like, what was your favorite Prince song? Which I think album maybe. And it spiraled into a whole big thing that you're a Prince super fan and that you have a band on top of this. So let's start at the beginning. And where do you live? You don't have to give the street number.
I'm in New Jersey. I'm in East Orange. So I'm in northern New Jersey. Most folks know Newark. So I'm right above Newark. If I climb on my roof and look towards the east, I can see the Empire State Building. I'm literally 30 minutes from New York City.
Wow, how cool is that?
Yeah.
And you have a full-time, I mean, you obviously you have a band, but you have a full-time job somewhere.
Yes, I work for the state's biggest and best utility company. I like to tell the rest of the people in the state. I work for Public Service Electric and Gas, better known as PSE&G. And we are the top utility in the state because we're the biggest, of course. And I always thought about how did that happen? And if you take the state of New Jersey, it looks like a peanut. And if you make your hand into a rectangle and put it inside the peanut, what you'll find is those are all the major cities. And that's why I think we dominate, because our utility has all the major cities in the state.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Echelon and Pico are like the Philly area. They're South Jersey. They're the same company. So yeah, keep it going.
They tried to take us over in 2006. They approached us to do a merger. It would have been a takeover. We would have been a part of the Exelon family, but the state, our BPU, knocked it down because they weren't going for it.
Yeah. It's weird. Like I lived in Baltimore. I live in Baltimore also, and that's Echelon. So I've always paid them money every month. Okay, so you have a band, Flip the Script. And it has been going on for over 10 years. And you're, other than just Prince songs, you're playing other songs as well, right?
Yeah, we really are a cover band. So we don't really do original stuff. As you see, I'm sitting home in my studio where I do my own original stuff. But with the band, we do cover songs. Originally, we were a four-piece. Matter of fact, I have a picture for you. So you can see us when we first started. That was the four of us. So that's my bass player next to me. It's our lead singer, and my son is my keyboard and music director. Then we migrated through the years, and we ended up as a six-piece. So you'll see the one young lady between me and my son. She left. She's from Seattle, and we have replaced her with a new girl. So what we have is three young ladies who front the band. They sing the lead vocals. Me and my son sing background. And that's basically how we've been. So we do a lot of funk R&B stuff, and we'll slide in the occasional pop song. Very partial to Bruno Mars. For some reason, Bruno Mars songs sound good when we do them.
Yeah, I can imagine. And everyone knows them. So
yeah.
I think as music has changed, the shared collectiveness of sharing music and the experience is limited now. Everyone has their own little pockets of what they're into. And, you know, radio is so limited as to what they play. I think that you know, Bruno Mars kind of is able to bring everything together.
It's good and bad though. It's good because, you know, back in our era when we were kids, you were stuck with those same stations you had. Now today it has expanded so much so that it's bad in the sense that people really don't know what they want. They don't know what they like. When you had the formats, you could easily reach those people. Now it's so much, it's so hard to drill through to find what you like. But the good thing is when you find it, then you can go in that vein and you can take off and find so much more good music that you would never hear on the mainstream labels.
Yeah, and that's true. And that unfortunately, like Spotify has some good things about them, and that's one of them, is where if you like this, you're going to like this, and chances are they're right. When I search for new jazz artists for my show, I try to, you know, look for up and coming artists, and somehow they're always on those playlists, and that's where, you know, I gravitate. And if I get addicted to that song, I'll contact those people and I'll say, I'd like to interview you. And it's been successful. And I also like people from other countries. I'm not, it doesn't have to be just in America. I think everyone's take around the world now is equally as important.
Oh yeah.
And I think that, you know, it's cool to see what people are doing, you know, elsewhere. And I think their takes and spins on certain genres are great.
Oh yeah, it's the same way with like traveling. You know, if you only know what you know, then when you go somewhere else and see something different, you realize maybe you can incorporate it in what you do. So one of my favorite bands is Incognito out of the UK. And
Yeah.
their sound, I love about them, they do instrumentals, they do vocals. So the term that came out when they first broke on the scene was called acid jazz. And you've always had that cross pollination with the British acts going back to, say, your Beatles and the Rolling Stones and all those bands that came to America. But then you get into the ethnic music, you know, music that comes out of Africa, music that comes out of Latin America, and even traditional folk music out of some of the European enclaves, where you'd hear it and be like, oh my God, you know. Classical music gets a little bit of a knock because it's music from centuries ago that they don't want you to change it. So if you play Mozart's, you know, piece, they want you to replicate it the same way he did it. But, you know, it's if you really listen to the scope of it and realize he wrote for an orchestra, where I'm basically trying to write for like a 5-piece pop band, in the sense of this man's writing for 64 instruments, there's a little bit of levels to the music that make you appreciate what he had to go through to do it.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I'm sure he didn't make any money on his commissions. You know, it's after the fact that he made his money, and it's too late. So what we're gonna do? Before we get into Prince, we want to talk about your wife. She has a podcast also. So you guys are very, you know how to entertain yourself. You guys have a lot of stuff going on. What's your wife's podcast called?
Oh my God, you're gonna kill me because I don't know the name of it off the top of my head.
What's
But
the topic though? What is it?
she
What is
does
it?
a lot of religious studies. So
Uh-huh.
what she does is, for what she did for this year, is she took the state of religion as it in today's world. So I believe she took 3 men, then she took 3 women, and then she took 3 people who are not religious, and then going to the end of the year, she's going to take all those people and put them together on a panel to have a discussion. And I was honored to be one of those guests to speak, because I'm not the religious type. I don't go for the doctrines and everything. So you get that dissenting voice where you get us all not in a room, but we'll be virtual, where we can talk to each other. But she does that. That was her main course, because she has a doctorate in theology. But she also does other topical subjects, because she's a novelist. She's written several books. She's put on a couple of plays. So she's very well-rounded. My son is a musician in the band with me, and he does his own stuff, closer to the hip hop generation. And my daughter is a modern dance girl, so she was very versed in all the modern dance stuff that goes on. So we're all very eclectic, very creative. And, you know, if you get in a room with all of us, man, sometimes you might have to run for cover, because we kind of go deep.
All right. So who we're talking to is Alban Jones, the brother AJ. His band is called Flip the Script. We are going to put links into this show, so you can get a hold of him and his music. There's a link that for a YouTube called Never in My Life, which is an original that he recorded. So we are going to have that also available. But we're doing Prince. This is you can see. Are you able to flip your whole like room around? Is it kind of screw up things? You have,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, Prince
Let me help you
poster.
first. Let me get ready for you first. Hold on. Hold on. Wait a minute.
You got, there you go. You got your Prince hat on.
Got the mask on you. Is that upside down? Let's go the other way.
No. Well, I can't hold it. You went that so fast.
There you go.
That's perfect.
How's that? Got the hat. You know, we got to look like Prince, so we got to throw on the superstar glasses. There you go.
Yeah.
And let me just show you. You can see, this is my control room.
Uh-huh.
So in my control room, as you can see, I have the.
Wow. Is that blown up? That's from the album, right? It looks big.
That's the original poster out the back.
Okay.
I got a couple. This is an album that people don't know about. He took over a radio station in Minneapolis. Cost me $60 for this 3-record set.
Uh-huh.
I got a 45 of Purple Rain here. A couple other pictures. I got a Prince voodoo doll that somebody gave me.
Okay.
I got the original from, let me turn that light off because you can't see it. From the Dirty Mind project.
Yeah.
That came right out the album. And a couple other things. Purple Rain poster. And this is the way I feel about Prince. If you want to know how I feel about Prince, I don't know if you can read that.
Man does it all. So there's no, yeah, no one better. Okay, what did you? This is, I know it's great. Yeah, I love your. Did you ever go to Minneapolis yet to take a look at the place? I think I asked you this already.
Are you kidding me? In 2019, I went and did a sabbatical. I said to myself, I have to go see where this man was, the streets he walked around in, and what made him who he was. So in 2019, I landed in Minneapolis. I believe it was a Sunday is the day I landed there because the Minnesota Vikings had a preseason game. So I saw the Minnesota Vikings. I stayed right across the street. My hotel looked right down on First Avenue. And then across the street is the Target Center where the basketball teams play. I went to Dakota, the jazz club that he would frequent, and I saw, you know, Bruce Springsteen. His drummer's name is Max Weinberg. He has his own band called Max Weinberg Jukebox, where they just scroll over 300 songs, and he calls on the audience to call out a song, and they'll perform it for you on the spot.
Oh, that's cool.
And of course, I had to go out to Paisley Park. I went out to Paisley Park so I could see, you know, for myself. And I have to tell you, if you're a fan of Prince and you get a chance to go to Paisley Park, what you immediately figure out is when you walk in there, you feel his presence and you understand that this was the cathedral that he built for himself, where a lot of artists take their money and they get all these ridiculous things. He basically built his own playground where he could do all the things he loved to do. He could do his fashion, he could do his music, he could do movies if he chose to, he could bring people in and throw parties. The place is so amazing. It's not over the top like gaudy, it's logically, strategically laid out. And you think it would be in the heart of Minneapolis. No, it's about 35 minutes, 40 minutes outside of there. So he didn't even want the influence of that to take away what he was trying to build out there on his own. And the place is actually special. Anybody that has a chance should go. And if you look behind me on the wall there, if you see that one picture, it's the one back here.
Yeah,
that's me standing in Studio A. They had a mural with his band Third Eye Girl, and they would let you, you couldn't bring no pictures or nothing. They had a camera set up that they would take your picture. And that's the picture that I took standing in Paisley Park.
Wow. Wow.
I was sold, man. I was sold.
All right, so let's take it back to the beginning. Okay, you're, I think, maybe a couple years older than me. I could be wrong, but not much more. And I bought the single I Want to Be Your Lover. And then I bought the album. Okay. And then I saw him on American Bandstand. And then I went backwards and got the first album For You.
Me too.
Yeah. And then, then there was so much buzz. There was the Dirty Mind album came out. I felt like it came out really fast. And Controversy, they came out like really, it felt like less than a year. And so, I was a Logical fan up until that point, buying all the stuff. And I would tell all my friends in high school, this guy is the real deal. And I remember they were comparing him to Rick James at the time. Yep. And there was a feud or something where Rick James was kind of angry with him. But absolutely. Yeah. But then, when 1999 came out, he wasn't mine anymore. He was the world's. And I felt like I had like a little secret where I had this amazing artist that was mine. I swear I met him once going into a Tower record shop in New York, because he kind of had this dress, but everyone dressed like him then. And he was short, and we nodded, and I was like, oh my God, that's Prince. I had the U2 War album, so that was maybe 1983. So he could have went to Tower back then, but he wouldn't do it later in his career. So big deal to me, and this is really fun. But go ahead. I told you my story, but what's your story?
My God, you and me, we must be brothers from a different mother. So all my friends are Michael Jackson hardcore. All right, 79. It's my high school senior year. I just got my first drum set. It was the raggediest set. I used to say it was so old, Ringo played on it. And all of a sudden, I heard this record, which was what you said. It was I Want to Be Your Lover. I was like, it's cool, but, it's all right. I kind of like it. You're dancing to it. And then I heard this song. That song was Sexy Dancer. Mm-hmm. When I heard Sexy Dancer, I lost my mind. I ran to the record stop. I said, you got this? He gave it me the album. I came home, put it on, and I was floored by everything on the record. After I wore that record out for about a good month, I ran back to the store and said, does this guy have anything else? And then it was his first album, For You. And when I heard Soft and Wet, actually, when you hear the opening intro of For You, with all that wonderful a cappella stuff he does with all his voices, I was like, oh my God, this is that dude, you know? And Michael, you know, I love Michael Jackson. You know, people kind of look at me like I'm a Michael hater. I'm like, no, I am not a Michael hater. The difference is Michael hits the stage and he electrifies you as a pure entertainer. Prince hits the stage, not only is he an entertainer, but he's a musician. And the fact that I'm a musician, he grabbed me by the throat, and that's what happened to me. When I heard the Dirty Mind album, it was like, oh my God, are you crazy? Like, this is a black guy doing this rock stuff. Ain't nobody really trying to hear that. And then his outfit, the way he was dressed, you know, especially black men, they were a little homophobic, if you will, and wouldn't really feel him. It was mind blowing. I was like all in. Controversy hit. I said, okay, like the themes he's talking about, because especially the song Controversy, he addressed those issues. And then, like you said, when 1999 hit, and definitely when Purple Rain hit, that's when I got mad at Prince. Because I was like,
he's not yours anymore.
Up to that point, you and I were in the know. We were the underground people. We were fueling this thing. And when 1999 hit and the success of Little Red Corvette, and then when Purple Rain, the movie hit, it was over. But the crazy thing was, what did he drop after Purple Rain? Around the World in a Day. Mm-hmm. And all those folks that jumped on the Purple Rain bandwagon, their heads flipped and they jumped off because they couldn't stay with him because he was so eclectic. We knew that that was a part of his DNA. They didn't know that, and we continued the journey with him.
You know, it's funny that Dirty Mind is such a punk record now. Like, you know, if you would look at how new wave and punk was at the time, it's 100% a punk record.
Yes.
You were talking about Michael Jackson. This is my take on it. Michael Jackson is good as his producers. And, you know, it's debatable on what he created because his name's on stuff, but it's not really fully developed. The Quincy Jones albums are fantastic. Some of the Motown stuff is fantastic. They all had different producers. He plays to the level of who's working with him. That's my opinion. What's fun is, like, I have all these like young people that I talk to all the time, and I'm telling them to go on YouTube and watch Prince, any live concert that's on there from anything from the 80s. Yeah, and the way that they're put together and the energy and the dynamic dancing and choreography and the imagery. And I put The Future on in my top 10 because during the LoveSexy concert, he starts out with The Future, and then the drum goes right into Love Bizarre, then it goes right into it. It feels like The Future continues to go through about 3 or 4 songs, and I was like, wow, this is so like amazing. And it's amazing now. So my friends go, oh, Prince is better than Michael Jackson, you know, and they're like, you know, they were raised to think Michael Jackson was the end all, but they didn't see the energy that Prince provided. So now they get it, and they're like, oh, okay, you know, there's a lot there, and they just thought they were just the hits.
I would say to you one thing. It's almost like when I was a kid growing up, I used to love figure skating, gymnastics, and diving in the Olympics. I used to sit in front of my TV and enjoy this stuff. Now I hate it. Mm-hmm. And I hate it for only one reason, because it is subjective to someone's opinion. If we're playing basketball, baseball, football, 20-3, I beat you. Okay, 17-10, I beat you. Mm-hmm. So when you talk about subjectiveness, and especially when it comes to art, we could be standing in the museum looking at a Picasso, and I'm telling you, it looks like something my 5-year-old cousin did. And you're standing there telling me it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Yeah. So I view musicians on that same spectrum, if you will. It's hard to say one is better than the other one, because the things I think it's very easy to be an eclectic artist because you make music that you like, and then hopefully everybody else likes it. I think it's harder to be a pop artist because you got to hit that one vein in that 3-4 minutes and capture the world and take them with you. Yeah. And what I would say about Michael, what you said is, I would say that we could say that, but what I would say to you is that Michael still had to get on stage and deliver that. And if you watch some of the behind the scenes stuff, one thing, Michael wasn't a full-on musician, but Michael knew what he wanted. and he would come to you and he would hum the bass line. He would be, give me this. No, right there. I need you to go down. So he would do it that way to deliver his product to you. His brothers Marlon and his brother Randy actually were great musicians who could play multi-instruments. And of course, everybody knows Tito played guitar and Jermaine played bass. So they were a musical family. And one of the greatest things that Joe Jackson did for them is he sat them down and made them learn harmony, because he came out of that old doo-wop era. So don't be fooled that Michael wasn't a good musician. He just wasn't a person who grabbed an instrument and delivered it that way. But when he hit the stage, you were 20 people on that stage, you didn't see the other 19. Your eyes stayed right on Michael because you couldn't stop watching him. He was electrifying.
Yeah, you're right. Well, I mean, also we were raised on that time period. I mean, the Ed Sullivan Show, Jackson 5, the cartoon, they had cereal. They had cereal and they had the 45s on the back, and you would buy all the cereals and cut out the thing. Like the Jackson 5 are DNA,
huge.
DNA of my lifestyle. Like they're very, very important. But I don't want to confuse. I don't want people to come away from the interview and saying, I'm just telling people that, hey, if you're Michael, like Michael's the best, and you don't think anything about Prince, check out his stuff, because there's a lot there. And that's kind of where I want to wrap that up, because I want any hate, because it's very possible.
People coming at you. We love Prince, but we highly, highly respect all that Mike did.
Oh my God, the Jackson 5 still, going places. I don't care if it's one of the worst albums at all.
I love that album.
Yeah, me too.
Yes, man. Probably my favorite Jackson 5 song is "Can You Feel It." I just love the message and the power they deliver in that song.
It's best, really loud. Like it sounds fantastic loud. I'm going to start with my 10. We're going to go. We'll end up with your number 1 if we do it right. I did make some changes from your list, or from what I showed you already. Number 10 is from Sign of the Times. I Could Never Take the Place of Your Man. It's just a jam, and it's it could be a single, it could be it could be busted out into like a 20-minute like guitar jam in concert. And it's just when he goes 1 2 1 2 3 and he wraps it up at the end, and it goes back, it's like it's jazz to me. It's wonderful. It actually, now I think about it, it gives me chills when he does that, so
I love that song, and what I would say to you is that the minute you said Sign of the Time, when you sent me your original list, the last thing you said was the entire Graffiti Bridge album. That's how I feel about Sign of the Times. So any song you take off Sign of the Times, I'm okay with, because it's my favorite Prince album of all time.
Yeah.
And do you want me to do my number 10?
Yeah, give me your 10.
My number 10 is actually Bambi, because the knock on Prince from all the rock guys was that he wasn't a good guitar player. And those are the same people that don't believe that COVID is real. Hey man, this thing is out there. You got to believe it. When you see it, you believe it. Prince was an incredible guitar player. If you don't believe it, every time you see him in concert, look down on the floor and look at his array of pedals. When you don't know what you're doing, you just hold the guitar and you have 1 pedal on the floor. When you know what you're doing, he's got 10 pedals on the floor. He knows how to work every pedal to get every sound he wants. And in addition to that, not only does he do it that, he will take that guitar, take it away, give me a different guitar, because he knows different guitars give you different sounds. So he was an incredible guitarist who I don't think got his due until he did the Hall of Fame, where he stood up Tom Petty, George Harrison, and George Lynn. When he took that solo against them dudes, the whole room looked around like, you know what? I think the dude can play a little guitar.
Yeah, that's one of the best videos ever, where they're all looking around, they're in awe, and they wanted to keep on going, and it probably could have. It didn't have to have an end time.
Just to show that off, I have a little replica of the Cloud guitar, and I also have a replica of his cymbal guitar.
That's the one from the Super Bowl, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. All right, so we're at number 9 for me. And okay, so When You Were Mine is on the Dirty Mind album, and I think Cyndi Lauper did a hit on it. It was a minor hit, it wasn't big. Yes. But the One Night Alone like live in concert, gives him the time to really stretch it out and kind of
Yes.
redevelop the song as from what it was as original. And God, this song like hums in my head randomly, like, when I'm walking the streets or whatever. This song just goes in and out, and it wasn't on my top 10, and I'm like, why isn't it? So I put it on there. It's important.
Well, it's so much to choose from, and the Dirty Mind album had a heavy impact on me. And I don't believe I picked anything from Dirty Mind, although I love it because his catalog is so huge. So my number 9 is actually off his Prince album. It's off the For You album, and it's called I'm Yours. It's a song that a lot of people don't know about. It came so fast early in his career, but that song, to me, if you listen to that song, this where you could see all the different elements of Prince are inside of that song. The vocal, the tight arrangement, the drums line, the synths, the guitar work, all was the precursor to everything he opened up and became Prince. I love that song. One day I heard it, I was like, what was that? Then I realized, oh my God, that's Prince, because I kind of forgot about it myself.
Yeah. People have to go backwards to check out For You if they haven't done it yet. And I always recommend people going back and look at the Batman soundtrack. It's something that people kind of blow off as it's all right. It's really, really good. And the Third Eye, that Third Eye album is fantastic. People should check that out. But so we're going back to Sign of the Times for, oh no, I skipped. We're at number 8, where it's The Future by from Batman. And it was when there's that long form Batman video, which is
love that.
So I was like, oh yeah, that came out in 1989. We were kind of, in our 20s. We love the album, we love Prince, but there's other stuff to listen to also. So when time passed and I saw that video again, I was like, wow, I do like that song. And the video is really clever. And I went back to the album. And I was like, wow, Electric Chair and
Electric Chair is my jam.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, the Future is. Then I saw that, I said earlier, I saw him live in concert on YouTube for the LoveSexy Tour. He starts with The Future, and it goes into a whole bunch of other songs. So I was like, wow, this is a great chance. It's in my top 10 now. It may change in the next year or so, but right now it's in there.
Me too. And I would say about the Batman project, just what you said. I got the soundtrack by Danny Elfman because I'm a big buff of the movie. But that video for Bat Dance is probably the slickest video in his career because of the way he weaved the elements in and out. He created the dual character, and it just was spectacular. But what it is for me about that song, when he gets to that breakdown where that groove just floors me. So I can wait all the 3 minutes before you get to that groove, and it kills me. But my number 8 for you is Lady Cab Driver. It was one of the songs that we both picked, which I'm very pleased with, because that song it is one of the quirkiest Prince songs you ever want to hear. And I got to give you a funny story about this song. I'm in my basement now, but when I first moved into my house in 1988, I was in the attic. I got married in 1990. My mother lived in New York, and I brought her down to the house so I could take her to the wedding. And I'm upstairs in my attic drumming to this song. I am jamming. This is the day of my wedding. So I'm upstairs jamming. My door opens up, and my wedding is May 26th of 1990. And I'm playing, and I look, and it's my mother at the door. And she just stand there. She let me play the whole song. I get to the end of the song. I stop, the cassette, was probably a CD. I said, Mom, you need something? She's like, you're getting married today, right? This is probably about 1 o'clock. The wedding's like 3 o'clock. I'm like, yeah. She's like, okay, I'm just checking, because I was upstairs jamming, and I was drumming to Lady Cab Driver, because that song is just so funky. That bass line is ridiculous. The synths that's spitting out, the commentary he gives you, the sound effects from the street, just a well-done production on that 1999 project.
Yeah. All right, so that's my number 3. Again, you know, the thing about Prince that's really cool, and I was looking through the tracks while we were doing this, is like, you know, I've lived this for a really long time. So all these songs are DNA driven. So in other words, there I know these so well. And Lady Cab Driver is like, if we used to make party mixes to friends and give
Yes.
out cassettes, Lady Cab Driver would be in it most of the time because I'm like, this song
Oh
is
God.
hot.
Yes.
And I can
Yes.
see it segueing into right another song. In my mind, it just doesn't go away. Um, and if you think about it, from the 1999 album, it's the most ethereal. It's kind of, you know, it's jazzy, it's a little spacey. It has so many elements going on to it, and it's angry. I can't decide if it's you know, anti-woman or not, but it's kind of sexy.
The
So
lyrics are a little deep. Yes.
yeah, so but you know, I'll enjoy it. Number 7, I'm going right into Play in the Sunshine, Sign of the Times. It's funny, I was interviewing Speech, and from Arrested Development,
Oh
and
yeah.
yeah,
Tennessee.
he had that song Dig in the Dirt, Children Play with Earth from the first album, and
Yes.
he went in for a Play with the Sunshine sample, and it cost too much. They had to pull it out. So he said, you know, every time I listen to that song, I think about where that sample should have went. And
Yes.
yeah, so Play in the Sunshine
Did he
before
tell
we get
you
old.
the Velvet story where he did the sample from Alphabet Street where Prince goes, oh, he put that in the song and Prince
uh,
charged him $100,000 for it.
he said it was so expensive, yeah, that they couldn't afford it and that they couldn't do it. But I can imagine, you know, he can do what he wants. But Playing the Sunshine before we get older, it's it actually has a great. If you read the lyrics as they are, you're like, whoa, these are life affirming and very positive, and the beat is fantastic, and I don't have anything else to say about it.
Well, my number 7, I go to his second album, and Sexy Dancer. That song, that is a dance floor classic. As soon
Uh,
as you hear that bass line hit, them drums hit, that guitar riff, one of Prince's gifts is, I think, one of the reasons the rock guys gave him such flack, because the rock guys play the rock guitar where it's, you know, the lead element of the song. And what Prince had, he had that James Brown chunky, funky riff guitar. And if you listen
yeah.
to a lot of his great tunes, that's the sound that drives those songs. And in this song, Sexy Dancer, he does that in spades. And it just, it was when he really discovered his dance floor formula, if you will. He knew how to put that heavy bass drum on it, the funky bass line, the chunky guitar, and just streamline this thing to all you could do is when you hear it, your head has to go. There is no way you can sit still when you hear it. And I believe he discovered it on that particular track.
We're gonna actually, you know, because we're doing this live, we're not segueing in any of his music. I was thinking about doing either a Spotify sampler of those songs that we were talking about, mine and yours, along
Okay.
with the maybe putting on YouTube also, so they can go into it on a playlist and hear what we're saying. I don't know. These are pretty classics. Some of them are more esoteric, but you know, the Prince fans know.
Yes, yes, we do.
Yeah, number 6 for me is the only Purple Rain song that I have on there, and that was tough because I looked at it and I'm like, okay, you know, Computer Blue would probably have been my top 10 because
Yeah,
it's so weird. And but I Would Die for You because
yes.
it gives me chills, and it's when I hear it, I'm in a grocery store, it pops on. You know, I can't listen to anything else that's going on except for that song. So it's just great. It's a great song for me. I don't have anything technical about it.
My band does a medley of Prince jams, and we start with, oh my God, I can't believe I can't remember what we start with. Oh my God, I can't. It's like a 3-song medley, but the last song we do is this one, and we do the classic, you know, I would die, you know. So we do the little hand motions to feel it. But
I would. Was
my
that Die
number
For?
6,
Yeah.
yes, because you gotta do it all, you know. My number 6 is another one of those dance floor workouts, and that was Let's Work off the Controversy album. Let's Work is the sound he picked for the bass line, because normally that bass is kind of, you know, in your face. It's kind of rubbery. It's got this real slippery sound to it, but it's so crunchy. It almost sounds like they compressed it down, and it just kills me. And it's his synthesizer work that just is lethal. I believe he said he actually let Dr. Fink do that solo. So when you hear the original solo on the record, all of these years I thought it was Prince, but I believe he said actually Dr. Fink is the one who took that solo. That solo is just spectacular. It is a Prince signature song moment. And he did really good on this. Like, you didn't believe. If you think about what we now call the Minneapolis sound, when you hear that song, that is the sound to the song to me that really makes me understand what that Minneapolis sound was. And if I had to break it down to the non-musician folks, basically when Prince came out and first started, he didn't have a lot of money, didn't have a budget, but he wanted the sounds of the live horns that you heard in all the R&B music, because all the R&B bands had full-on horn sections. Prince didn't have that, so he did the same arrangement, but he used synthesizers to make that sound, and it became such a great thing. He used it for many years after that, and that to me is the essence of the Minneapolis sound.
Yeah, Let's Work is a jam, but it's also you could see the time doing it. Like it's a
yes.
It's a time. It's a when there was such a merry time period at that point where time stuff was Prince stuff, and that could have been given to them, and be just as fantastic and just as electrifying. I'm going to.
I want to say I just want to say I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's either this one or the previous one I had mentioned, but I believe it's this one. Oh no, not the previous one. It's the other funky jam that sounds like this. Head got that same kind of groove, but I believe that it was Let's Work. Mars Day actually played the drums on this jam. A lot of people don't know that. Mars Day was a drummer first before they brought him up front to be the front man at the time. And I believe he cut the deal with Prince to, if you let me have this song, that I'll work on getting you a record deal. That's in essence how he put the time together. But that's Mars Day playing the funky drums on that.
Wow.
Because he was a big fan of David Garibaldi from Tower of Power. So Mars had that slick in the pocket groove.
Yeah, it's a legendary song. I'm on the Controversy album for number 5, and it's Sexuality, which I didn't know was released as a single. Yeah, I saw the video just about 2 years ago for the first time. I didn't know it existed, and I was like, wow. I wish I was younger and this was in a club, because I danced my ass off to it. It's such a good song. I couldn't do it justice now. I'd kind of shuffle around, but I think if that came out in the 80s when I was way into it, I would have went insane. So Sexuality is one of those songs that is constantly reappearing. I'm totally relearning it, loving it through the years. That video that came out, I was obsessed with. And I was like, wow, this is the Prince that I love. And it was just him. And is that Andre Simone was there? Is that him? Those two?
Andre Simone, he didn't leave yet. You think he was still there?
Yeah, there was only like a couple people. It was really limited, and a very cheap video, but it was great. And so it kind of capsulized all the themes that he was trying to put out there at that time period.
I believe they said they shot all 3 of those videos on the same day, because again, he had limited dollars for budget. Just like you said, a great song. And one of the things I should mention when you ask why I got into Prince is, again, remember, here I am, I'm 19, it's my senior year in high school. And Prince was, we all did it. Every generation does it, where you rebel against the establishment in front of you. And here comes this guy wearing this freaky clothing and talking all this sexual stuff. And Sexuality is one of those songs that digs into those themes. So of course I gravitated to him, because it was my way of kind of rubbing my face up to the establishment. So I'm with you on that. And
I don't know.
My number 5, what's that?
Like now he's talking about sexuality and being very free and open. I wonder if he realized that this is going to be, now we're going to be into the city girls and to a whole different generation where the openness is like wide open, not just a little open, but it's different. I wonder if he ever wondered when he was singing that in the 80s.
He helped usher that in.
Yeah. He was a beginner. Where are you at? You're at 5.
My number 5 is his. He said, "Don't call it a comeback," but it was a comeback. That was Musicology.
Yeah.
The groove to Musicology is super slick. And if you ever see John Blackwell play drums on that, John Blackwell mimics that groove to perfection. And it was that, to me, that was the essence of Prince reincarnating James Brown and bringing those old, Cold Sweat, Papa's Got a Brand New Bag, all those classic James Brown grooves he delivered in that song. Complete with the live horns now. Now he put the synths away and he brought the horn section in, and just a killer song with a killer video, with a killer tour that went behind it, that just brought this out to the masses. And the coolest thing he did with this is, if you brought a ticket to the Musicology tour, you got the Musicology CD as part of your package, and it took his sound scan numbers and took it through the roof, to the point that the powers that be, after that, nobody else could do that. Prince, again, ahead of the times, doing something to fight the establishment and bring the money back home to him where it belonged.
Yeah, if you think about it, to produce an album, like a physical album with the wrapping and stuff, it's probably $2. So, I mean, when you're buying a ticket, $2 with shipping, it's a great investment. And also, just people are already prepped. They know the new songs. They're going to be jamming to them. It's not the time where you sit down anymore, or go get a drink. It's like, I know these songs. I'm way into this. It's very smart. All right. So I think this one's a rarity for me. It's number 4. It's from the Come album, and it's called Race. And I love the Come album. I think it's totally underrated. I know he was playing with trying to stay commercial or whatever, but Let It Go and Race in general is the funkiest thing I can think of.
Well, for Rome, everything off that album. That little thing he does in the back with his voice, like, God, I love that CD. That's the one he killed himself on, because it said Prince 1958 to whatever year it came out. Basically, he killed Prince and he went to the symbol.
Yeah.
But great record. So you picked a great obscure track, and I went the other way. I went heavy into his commercial bag. It had to be, for me, number 4 was When Doves Cry off the Purple Rain project. The fact that he took the bass line off that song is just still like freaks me out, because when I first heard it, my ears heard the bass in it. So all those years, I thought it had the bass line in it. It wasn't until they said that I had to put the headphones on and really sit down and listen to it. But that opening montage where he does that guitar riff that it opens up with, and then you hear the themes of the classical sound. It's got that kind of classical Baroque kind of sound with those synthesizer swells that go through it. And just the lyrical content and where they placed it in the video, in the Purple Rain movie, the fact that the situation with his mom, the situation with his dad, it's like that song was the glue that held that movie together from the themes of it. So I just love When Doves Cry.
Yeah, you can watch that video, and it basically tells the story about the whole story. So it capsulizes everything that's going to happen. And I think that's a great PR move, because we were watching the videos on MTV, or the 5 o'clock video show, whatever that was, and that song would be on there, and so we knew what was going to happen. Yeah, it's a great song. Yeah, it's fantastic. All right, so number 3 for me was Lady Cab Driver. So that's probably the only thing that we agreed on in our top 10. So what's your number 3?
My number 3, I'm still in the Purple Rain album. It is probably one of my favorite Prince songs of all time. It's definitely in my top 10. It's The Beautiful Ones. That groove is so haunting. It's got that hypnotic drum groove. He was a masterful drum programmer. A lot of the drummers got upset when the drum machine came out, but Prince was brilliant in the sense of, I can have the ability to have a live drummer or drum machine. Me, I learned quickly. I better learn how to use the drum machine, because if I don't learn how to use it, I'll be out of a business. So he just programmed a wonderful groove, built an incredible song around it. And when he goes to that falsetto at the end, do you want me? Do you want him? He kills you with it. So that's definitely my number 3.
It's an angry little song. It doesn't seem angry. It seems angry in the movie. It doesn't. The song's not angry, but
he loves her.
Yeah, and you got to pick. All right. So, okay. Number 2 for me is Housequake.
Oh,
Yeah, in your funky town. Yeah, that it's it. It's my James. It's the best song. We're gonna show you what to do. Put your foot down. I know this. Sing it.
on the 2, jump on the 1.
Now you're having fun. So I sing that like while I'm working. It is it's Housequake. So it would have been number 1 if it wasn't that I championed my number 1 is a theme. It's a situation, but it could be number 1. So what you got for 2?
There's 2 big things with Housequake, because I love Housequake, because it's like, again, it's Sign of the Times. So just 2 quick things. When the Sign of the Times movie came out, there's a little theater up the road in a town called Fairlawn, which is a very suburban kind of town. And me and one of my boys went there because that was the only place they played the movie. We already had the soundtrack. And when Housequake came on, we jumped up out of our seats. We turned the whole theater out. By the time we left the theater, people were coming up high-fiving us because we turned the movie into a concert by the time we finished. And my second story about Housequake, when I was leaving Paisley Park, so I told you 2019, I went on my sabbatical. As you come out the end of the tour, you get into the area where the gift shop is. And as we were coming out, why does Housequake come on the speakers in there? Boy, it was about 20 of us. 4 of us looked at each other. We started singing and jamming. So that's how powerful Housequake is to me. But my number 2 is we might have to do another top 10 and do one where we just do all the Prince ballads.
Okay. I didn't. Yeah, do me. There's so many in there.
Well, my Cross number 2 is the ballad, and it is Adore. Adore is one of his most beautiful ballads of all time. You hear his angelic voice, the way he weaves his vocals. He'll start a line in one voice and complete it in a different voice. He speaks a little bit inside of here. We done some spoken word stuff. And the groove at my wedding, that was the song that the wedding party marched in on. So what you see behind me, as I said, is my studio. I did my own instrumental version of it, and our wedding party was so big. The song is already long. I had to do the song 2 times for everybody to make it in to the church for us to get married. That's how much I love that song.
Yeah, I see WDAS in Philadelphia. They do the fans vote. Normally a house is not a home is number 1 by Luther, but number 2 is Adore, and it's been that way forever. Yeah, it's one of those songs. I like the idea part 2 because I looked at the Cross, I looked at the beautiful Do Me Baby. There's some stuff that I could have put on. All right, so when I first met you, I was so excited to talk about Graffiti Bridge, and
yes, you are.
It's the worst movie, but the best movie at the same time. It is terrible, but it's amazing. It was all done in Paisley Park. It's ridiculously themed stream. Like the plot is terrible. The music is fantastic. And when you see Prince do Thieves in the Temple,
that's my wife's song. She loves that.
Yeah, when you just see the Time up there doing their songs, and even George Clinton and Melody Cool, Big Mavis Staples, Round and Round, Tevin Campbell.
Yeah.
It's pretty impressive. It's like, I know that America really, really hated this movie. And I think I looked at the movie track, it barely made its money back. But as a whole, I play it nonstop all the time. I could recite every line in that. Well, it wouldn't be hard, but I could recite the line in that movie. So, and as of number 1 to me is the whole soundtrack, because it's awesome. And that's all I can say.
Well, I see. I'm gonna tell you something. We are not far apart in how we operate and think. I'm laughing at you because I'm looking at your headphones that you got on. Okay, and I think that's funny. But I have the same pair of those here in my studio.
Yeah.
So I have the same pair of those. So the fact that we're talking about Prince and we're digging in this deep. So you love Graffiti Bridge.
Yeah, it's
I
terrible.
love Sign of the Times.
Yeah,
So my number one song is Sign of the Times.
makes
But
sense.
like you, I could take that whole album, both of those, and think about it. Graffiti Bridge, that's a double album. Okay. Sign of the Times is a double album also.
Yeah.
And they both had movies that went with them, although Sign of the Times was more of a performance movie than it was a movie. And that song was like really like, he had talked about themes of socialist things, but he never wrapped it up and was so succinct with it and made it hit the way it hit. When we heard Sign of the Times for the first time, when he talked about the gangs, the drugs, the Challenger blowing up, and just the ills of society and what was going on, with that hypnotic groove, it was lethal. And I could not get enough of this. I must have played that single over and over and over because I just had to absorb it because it was just so funky to me. And then, of course, the whole project was just devastating. All the songs, like I said, I could have taken my top 10 could have been the whole project because I love every song on that.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. And the
Yeah.
funny thing about what you just said about Graffiti Bridge, I have a little YouTube thing where I do, and I call them Prince Thoughts, and I'm up to number 7. I'll be doing number 8, which I'll be talking about his new project, Welcome to America, that they just released. But I think it's either number 5 or number 6. I talked about the 4 movies Prince did. A lot of folks don't know he did 4 movies,
Yeah.
Because they don't know. And I think you would be interested in some of the commentary I say about Graffiti Bridge, because I'm right in line with you with what you're saying.
Yeah. I actually, I see it. I wish I had some like good money, because I would put that into like a play, like a current day play, because it's really cool. It's really bad, but under the impression that it's fantastic at the same time. Yeah, the Sign of the Times to me it's like an old blues song, just the way he's unfolding it. Like I could see like something back from the 50s and even 40s, the way it's lyrically how it's unfolding. But what a jam, especially when it goes chuku chuku, like I don't know what that is, but it's just like it's unexpected, but it's really, really cool.
Yes, man. Yes.
But yeah, it's I think we have some good songs here. I think that there's a lot more.
Very eclectic list. I like it.
I actually thought, okay, well, there's stuff like the news album and some other stuff that maybe I need to listen.
Yeah, nobody knows those things.
Yeah,
people don't know these things, man. I did a 3 CD. Actually, it's not 3; it's 6 CDs where I took the I used to DJ, so I had all 12-inch records. There's the B sides that people don't know, like the long version of "Hole in Your Head." Okay, that song is like 10 minutes. I Wish You Heaven. When it breaks down into that funky groove, people only know the album version. They don't know the 12-inch remix versions. Yeah. I have a bunch of that stuff.
I actually had Boys and Girls, Mountains, Sometimes It Snow in April. I had all those on the list that I had to cross out.
Yes, and how did you take that off? Because Sometimes It Snows in April.
So good.
That song makes you cry.
Yeah, it does. And the thing is that I said, well, how could I forget When You Were Mine? Like, how could I forget that?
Yes.
And I was like, it got complicated towards the bottom. I know that Housequake and Graffiti Bridge would be up there. I know that. And then at the end, I was like, I'm fighting for stuff because I love Mountains. I love Parade. I think it's a great album also. I think it's a perfect album.
Well, what I did is it's hard for me the same way to pick the top 10. So when you first said it to me, the first thing I did is I opened up an email and I just put the first 10 songs that came to my mind. Yeah. I said, this is what I want to put in. These are the first ones. So then over the next 3 days, I had to go in like you did, whittle and slot. Oh, how can I leave this off? Oh, yeah. I can't do this. I can't make everything Sign of the Times. So I had to really go through it because, the problem with Prince is most artists don't have the amount of output he has. If we did this with a regular artist, they might have 5, 6 CDs out. So it's so easy to pick your top 10. This man got 40 records out. You know what I mean? It's so hard to dig through. So I had to go what meant to me and what really moved me emotionally to whittle this list down. This was hard. I'm not going to kid you. This was hard.
Yeah, it was, but exciting because I didn't know if you were going to give me your list ahead of time because I was like,
I wanted to send it to you so you could see. Yes.
because I was like, okay, well, I don't know how off the mark I was with mine. All right, so we almost hit this for like an hour. It was fun. So thanks for doing my my first live uncut. Something came from Baltimore. What a great one to do. It's Alban Jones Sr., the brother of AJ. He has flipped the script. He's the purple one over here in North Jersey. We have all his his contact information inside the show notes, and we are gonna take the 10 songs that we picked, and we'll have 20 songs really, and we're gonna put it in a mix. So it'll be there on Spotify for you guys to listen to, along with YouTube. YouTube, they cut stuff all the time, so it's not, it might not be that great, but definitely on Spotify. And that's it. I thank you very much for joining me today.
Hey, thank you, Tom. It's a pleasure meeting. I'm so glad that we met the way we met and we had this conversation. More people were like you. We could get this world so much further along because we just met where we met. And from that point forward, we're joined at the hip now.
Yep, that's right. Yep. And, you know, hopefully, you know where I work. So come and see me. And hopefully I'll get a day off. I'll come and see you perform.
Absolutely.
All right, good. Thank you very much. I'm going to stop the recording, but we're going to continue to talk. All right.